You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
All right, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, every Monday night on this fine radio station, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer here in the Central Florida area. If you're not in the listening area, you will be able to have another shot at it. We're on Spotify, I would say by Wednesday or Thursday, Spotify, iTunes, and we're also on YouTube. Check us out there. Like us, subscribe us there. Contractor Talk Podcast is where you'll find us on YouTube. Like, subscribe us, and check out Hans' Dapper Suit of the Week. You'll never find the same suit set up in any radio show that we produce. We beg you to go back and watch every episode to ensure that he hasn't worn the same, I would say,
ensemble.
Exactly. There you go.
Exactly.
I was going to go last.
It's like a challenge. It's like a challenge to go back.
It really is. It really is. So many places to find us on that. Many people take us on their phone and just click on Spotify. But like I said, man, if you're a YouTuber, I mean, you can watch us on the television, for crying out loud. With that, every week we bring a different show with you guys, to you guys, different guests, and different topics in what's going on specifically in the industry. And we're talking about property damages, property insurance claims, really. What we talk a lot about during special or during regular session. We talk about what's happening there, laws that could change that would affect the way that consumers have rights against their insurer when they're trying to collect. And we brought this up many shows ago about all of the stuff in the papers now finally shining a light on the insurance companies and their bad behavior, the slow walking of claims, the underpayment, the crazy declination rate. We're talking about 15 insurance companies, over 50% declination rate of all claims filed from the two recent storms last year. And that's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you're not in good hands. You don't have a good neighbor. You're thinking you're spending all this money month after month, year over year to renew a policy, and in which they take your money and they issue you a policy for your structure. And you know what condition that structure is in when they take your money, Hans?
Insurable?
Insurable, absolutely.
Excellent.
And to find out later on that you're one of these folks, from Citizens to People's Distrust all the way down to Snake Farm and Allsnake, all of those folks in between denied more than 50% of all the claims filed from Hurricane Helene and from Milton. Major storms that went over these folks' homes. And so we're seeing the slow walking of claims, the radical declination just for no reason, or the changing of the IAs, which is the independent adjuster's estimates, after it's gone to the desk adjuster at the carrier side of things. So the insurance carrier will assign a third party, usually. It's supposed to be a separate neutral third party. They're called independent adjusters, and they are far from being independent. But they get the assignment from the insurance company. The third party does. They go and they do the full investigation, and they send in what they put in as the amount of damages in an Xactimate estimate. Usually, estimate to dictate, is the roof repairable or replaceable, and they put that in there with detail, and they put it in there with pricing and scope. How much of the scope was determined to be under that loss and the inside, everything wrapped into one, right? And so what we were finding, and what was even found during the last couple of legislative sessions, definitely back in 2022, whereas some of those folks were coming to the legislature and showing them proof. They said, these insurance companies are changing my estimates, and they're not even taking my name off of it, for crying out loud. They're leaving my name on it. I'm getting blown up as the independent adjuster. Folks calling me and say, hey, I thought you were writing for a roof replacement, and here I'm getting paid or underpaid under my deductible for a roof repair. And so that kind of tactic has been going on as they find different ways, the insurance company and their lobby find different ways to change the laws and to put it in their favor. And these couple of years, the pendulum swung a little bit too far, way over to the side of favor for the insurance company's side, thanks to our bought-out governor who took $100 million to run for president. You see how that went for him. But because of that, in exchange, we got a bunch of law changes. Isn't that great? The state of Florida, in exchange for maybe the first governor, is it really? I don't know, the first governor maybe from Florida to run for president that I know of. But
been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Let's just say that. So what a good thing it would be for the state of Florida, but man, what bad timing. So what we did see is the only thing that was good timing for was the insurance companies and their lobby, for sure. We got railroaded, and our guest today has no
Love lost.
Exactly, love lost or shyness to go up to the legislature and speak in front of them and say this isn't right. We do have a voice. And it's not what you're hearing, which is usually the exact opposite. We heard it, and Hans, you did big time as, what was it, 2020, when the pendulum swung, when we're talking about whose fault is it that the premiums in property insurance go up and up every single year. I think it switched to roofers and attorneys.
It did.
In that year.
It did. It had already gone through the assignment of benefit contractors, already gone through the public adjusters, and since we were the only ones left. There really was nobody else after us,
right.
to blame for. Now, to their credit, they used us every year. They used all of us that all sit at this table every year to complain. That's why rates went up. Obviously, we found out that in fact they simply opened up subsidiary after subsidiary to provide these non-essential functions, mailing policies, filling out applications, answering phone calls for exorbitant sums of money, draining their own bank accounts down, going back to the state and saying, see, we're out of money, we need a rate increase. And certainly in those years, the OIR, Office of Insurance, as you say, deregulation, or I'm not sure, I'm going to come up with a better acronym.
I'm not sure what
that.
they do.
Exactly, other than rubber stamp approvals for the increase in rates.
No kidding.
So one thing it's funny when we talk about independent adjusters. An independent simply is a term of statute. It's not actually a designation. Like they don't raise their hand and swear to be independent. They're just called independent adjusters because that's how the legislature made them. And I assume there was some lobbying effort instead of saying third party insurance company adjuster. With somebody said, hey, look, we'll give a little bit to your campaign, put a bill together that we'll call them independent. How about that? That doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, really, does it?
Right.
No, it's interesting that when they talk about those guys, is they say, well, they have an incentive to write whatever they see because they get paid on what they write. Now, that's true, but everything in that sense is only true for a moment. If they write too much all the time, well, then they stop getting assignments. I mean, there's a balance point for them to feed their family where the insurance company say, every incentive, they'll write anything they see, they get paid for whatever they see. Yeah, until you do it too often. Mm-hmm. And then you're no longer an employed independent adjuster, you're an unemployed independent adjuster. So the idea that they're the control, right? They're supposed to be the check and balance in the field, the independent adjuster, to say, well, since they get paid for what they write, they have every incentive to do that. Yeah, until they don't get hired for the next job.
Exactly. And there really is a balance because you're there with the homeowner for hours as an independent adjuster, going through the claim step by step, listening to their story, listening to the testimony of the winds just howling and sounding like a train and all that stuff, popping the doors open. I've heard the stories myself, and from during the midst of a hurricane, talking about maybe Hurricane Ian, even Hurricane Michael, where we had like crazy amounts of winds coming over like a very acute areas, and Hurricane Michael was one that stood out for me. Is in there in Panama City, just so many stories of being near ground zero and where structures are just totally were missing altogether, to where the neighbors were still there and the sounds and the stuff that they went through was just horrifying. And so these types of stories are what these independent adjusters are listening to, and so they do have to be fair, right? And they're the ones that get the phone calls afterwards when they get a less than deductible payment or a denial of some sorts, and saying, weren't you saying all this stuff was covered? And so those are the tough points when the insurance company has a certain amount of numbers, right? I think what they say is a certain percentage of 70% of the denied claims don't get followed up on. That's a staggering number to think about. Of all of the denials that they can do, and in this case, there were 14 companies, and you look at Citizens Media number 15, in a separate article was 77% declination rate of all of the claims filed in those two storms. I mean, think about that, and then think about that number where Citizens has about 1 million policies. I don't know how many filed a claim for those two hurricanes, but 50% of them got denied. But then think about that staggering number of 70% of those folks won't do anything about it.
Well, I mean, the people become institutionalized to not contest it. Everyone, as I mentioned some time ago, a few years ago, people were worried about their homeowners insurance, worried about keeping it, worried about how to afford it. Now they're more mad about it, but it doesn't really change fundamentally for a lot of people, though they still don't want to rock the boat, don't want to contest the insurance company's decision, don't want to lose the coverage. They'd rather pay $6,000 a year on a 1,500 square foot house and never make a claim and have disastrous stuff happen to them, but they don't want to lose that coverage.
Right.
Whatever, I don't want to lose that coverage. And I understand that the desire to keep the coverage and all those things. I never suggest people go bare or go without it. But it's funny, you do find people who will say, well, I just don't want to cause any trouble. And I'm like, you have a hole in your roof. And they're like, yeah, but we just don't want to cause any trouble.
Right.
And it's funny, people, they do become institutionalized. The worry about non-renewal, the worry about cancellation, all those things really does permeate what a lot of folks I talk to. And like you and I always talk about, there are times to use it, right? I mean, when a hurricane goes through and takes off your roof or does some real damage, it's okay. And I have to give people permission sometimes. I'm like, it's okay. I said, well, I had a broken pipe. I fixed it myself. And I'm like, well, that's fine. I said, but when you have an act of God, as it were, a hurricane comes through and you have damage and you have real damage, and be honest about what happened and think about your deductible, but make the claim because that is why you have it.
Right. And I've made this statement before, is that people need to realize that if you file a claim on a hurricane or act of God, a named storm, it doesn't count against you on your loss runs. When you're getting insurance renewal, you will not have to count that claim against your hurricane claim. And so that's good to know when people are thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't want to file a claim. I'm going to get non-renewed by my insurance company. I'm not going to be able to find new insurance. And that's just not the case. Now, let's think about the brighter side of things. Let's say whether it takes you 5 months or 2 years to put on a new roof. Whenever you do get the new roof put on, your insurance rates are going to be much, much lower. I'm talking about a brand new roof. What's your roof age? 0.
Right.
The quotes for your insurance are going to be not only abundant, but very low.
Exactly. And the key to that is when I talk to people about getting a new roof on, I said, even though if it may be hard to do, if you don't have the resources, try to marshal those resources, get it done now. You can go shop coverage, shop rates, and you have a lot more available to you. I said, but if you're at year 18 on your roof, there's a good chance the next year you're going to get non-renewed if there's a loss or not.
Right.
So either
and good luck finding insurance at that point.
Right. Oh yeah, and then you won't unless you get it done. I mean, we were talking a little bit about. What I find is that people, when they call me, they say the IA, the independent adjuster, was typically either horrible to them or really, really, really nice, said it's all covered, said it's not a problem. I mean, there's really almost no middle ground. Either they're there for 10 minutes, they're grumpy, they don't get on the roof, or they spend a lot of time there, they're super nice. But for people, when I talk to them sometimes, I say, well, who was there for you? Like, did you have anyone there on your behalf? This is before they hire me. And they'll say, well, no, I didn't know what to do. And I said, well, did you ever contemplate using a public adjuster, someone to help represent you, and especially in these early phases of the loss, to be there? So if you do have a grumpy guy, he can deal with the grumpy guy. If you have a nice guy, you can try to maintain or improve that relationship. Right. But you can't always do it by yourself. Most of the time, I tell my clients, don't be home when the inspection occurs. Other than, or have it, if they have a public adjuster, have that person come. I try to keep the homeowner out of there, because if you get a grumpy one, start asking your guy questions. I get letters from insurers that talk about all the time. Oh, and your client said this and the client said that. I'm like, well, what is that crazy? What are they doing answering questions? That kind of thing. Right. It's not before me.
Right. Not an interrogation for sure.
Yeah.
And good point that you made about being represented in an insurance claim. the numbers behind how many times people file an insurance claim in their lifetime is not many.
Right.
Let's just say that once every 10 years or once in a lifetime is about the average when somebody files a claim against their property insurance company for damages, or they're in the middle of a hurricane or a major storm or an event. And so, not if you're in Florida, I guess. Well, I guess really, in Central Florida, I've been pretty lucky,
Right.
like avoiding like the bigger parts of the storm. We'll get 67 mile per hour winds, and lucky we're batting down, but there are some are batting down pretty good. But some folks, that's enough for some structures and some roof types to get damaged. We're looking more than 60 mile per hour winds. That's going to be a problem. And so making sure that you have somebody to represent you is going to ensure that you get your claim approved and as much as you can get from that claim. Using a public adjuster not only helps you get more than what you would have on your own, not just because it's in any way to try to get you more than what you deserve. It's most of the time unrepresented. You don't get what you deserve from the insurance company. They'll write you low. They'll add things or not add things that should be included in the claim. Whereas a public adjuster works for you, they're going to ensure that everything from the silverware that you mentioned, if it's a total loss kind of thing, to whichever is damaged, you have one shot at this to put it back to pre-loss condition. And so to do that, you need to have somebody that represents you that has a lot of experience in the game, that knows how to do these, put these packages together. New laws are even out now that you have to turn in a proof of loss, a sworn proof of loss statement within 60 days after you file an insurance claim. And so if you're a homeowner and you're listening to this and you don't know what I just said, the person you need to speak to is Matthew Mink. What's going on, Matt? What's going on?
Hey, I'm doing really good. I appreciate you guys having me here today. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, man. And Trust Public Adjusting Group has been around for a while. Sterling has been on my show many times. I'm good friends with Sterling, and I just love to work with you guys. Definitely know how to inform a client, ensure that they have a good package set together. And a lot of times you're able to put them back to a pre-loss condition by yourself, by being able to not only do the full estimate, turn that in, get the proof of loss done, sometimes take it to appraisal or mediation, take that extra step to be able to turn that insurance claim into cash for the homeowner so they can hire the right folks to put them back to pre-loss condition.
Yeah, and what we do, and Sterling runs a great firm. He lets us do what we do best, and that's we document the damage really well. He gives us all the resources to make sure that we can get all that information documented. So when we write the estimate and we submit all the information we need, like you mentioned, proof of loss, photos, it could be expert opinions, all that stuff, and we submit it to the insurance companies so well that I always say that it's our organized offense is better than their disorganized defense.
Right. And that's a good way to put it, because on the other side, they can smell blood on the water. If you're a homeowner filing this claim, fumbling the football along the way, and they're telling you, get 3 estimates for everything, and you're like, wait, 3 estimates for the roof, 3 estimates for the drywall, 3 estimates for the paint, 3 estimates for the floor. Now you're working for them. And that bogs people down, and that also is the reasons why somebody would have a claim going on for 6 months to a year with getting closed, open back up again, closed, open back up again. And do you see that a lot? And when do people finally call you? Is it right off the rip, or is it when they're trying to fumble the football around and they're finally like, okay, I need to call somebody?
It's a little bit of both, and people a lot of times will call us ahead of time, and I, shoot them straight always. I try not to push them where they feel like they have to hire us, but I give them all the reasons why it might make sense to hire us now. But if not, wait for the denial, and we could come in at that time, or the underpayment. But if you hire us right from the beginning, I think the benefit is that documentation part where we actually can go out and meet that company or independent adjuster that the insurance company sends out, and we can point to the damage and make them document it. Because if they don't have it from the beginning, then they put it in front of the desk adjuster. The desk adjuster will say, I didn't see it. It wasn't documented. But we can point that stuff out to those adjusters that the insurance company sends out. You see it. You see what I'm saying. You see how the damage right there happens to be really close to the valley. So you can't just repair this section here. You got to replace the valley too, because you're going to do damage just by, lifting those shingles. I do have experience in roofing because I did actually work in roofing for many years. 2018, I actually went to the Panhandle for Hurricane Michael and saw the devastation. I was on the ground in Mexico Beach, Lynn Haven, Panama City, all those areas, and saw the devastation and saw what people were going through. And we were there, and when I was there in that capacity, it was for roofing. I mean, we were just helping putting tarps on roofs at that point. But I mean, I always like being on the side of helping people, essentially. And that, and that's kind of what brought me into the public adjusting was that roofing experience that I had for many years.
Oh, that's awesome. And you take that knowledge and experience and be able to take it to help homeowners to get past that, I would say, the guard gate, which is that independent adjuster, to ensure that they have the right documentation to say, okay, this isn't a repair. Because as we know, Hans, we look at these a lot, and sometimes you get the other side of it where the adjuster's like, oh, no, you can repair. And you're like, what? You're scratching your head going, what? How can I repair this? And it's going to look Frankensteinish.
Yeah, my roof will have the measles. Or
I'm dealing with that right now. Yeah, pretty, and it's a 3-tab shingle roof. I actually got a roofing contractor involved to come out and to look at it themselves and give their expert opinion. And of course, all the different things, like you're going to have a Frankenstein roof. You're not going to be able to match it. Plus it's on all but one facet of the roof in many different locations. And, so these are the reasons why you need a public adjuster, because this person, it was under deductible. And they haven't got any money yet.
Let me guess, State Farm. I don't know.
Not this time around, but
that's usually the case, right? Yeah, it's usually the case. And with that, I mean, how are you going to be able to repair something in the middle of a, let's say, in the middle of a slope where that's where the penetration is? How are you going to be able to repair that spot with an underlayment? I mean, that doesn't make sense. I mean, let's say there's a hole.
Well, no roofer will warranty it. That tells you right there.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I say that just because it's like we know that if there was a hole in the middle of that slope, you're gonna have to go all the way up, cascade was what they call it, all the way up to that next ridge and rip out all that underlayment and install new. Because if you think about the slope as it goes down, you have to start your layer at the top and then put your new, start from the bottom, work your way. But either way, you know what I mean? You have to overlap that starting from the top to ensure that water penetration does not get underneath that vapor barrier. And so it's so important you do it the right way. And many, many times the insurance company knows that. They'll do an under-deductible payment or small payment for a repair, knowing that the average person may or may not be able to find somebody to do that, and they end up coming out of the pocket and just replacing the whole roof themselves when they should have been able to get it covered under the guise of their policy. And then by calling you, you're able to, by calling Matthew, you're able to get a free evaluation on this. And then, I know I've worked with you so many times, no recovery, no fee as well.
Absolutely.
So there's no charge for you to come out and do this evaluation, help push this forward with the insurance company as well. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. To bring us into the fold as a public adjuster, we do not get paid until the homeowner gets paid. So it's a win-win. We advocate for the homeowner. And like you were talking before, as a public adjuster, we are the only adjuster, even though there is an independent adjuster, we are the only one that advocates and works directly for the homeowner.
That's right. That's great. And I didn't mean to cut you off over there. What's going on, Hans?
No, I was just going to say, well, I mean, there's always a lot to say about all these issues. I have a State Farm claim today where they agreed 10 tiles need to be replaced. And my guy says 12 tiles need to be replaced. You can do it. But the cost, because it's a 1989 roof, you have to take off all the tiles, redo all the underlayment, because all he has is a single layer of tar paper. So State Farm says, well, we'll pay to replace 10. I said, you can't. You got to take off the entire roof. But we'll agree to the repair, which was like $180,000 because you had to take everything up and put it all back. But we could do a new roof for $114. And they were just like, like State Farm was like, wait, I said, no, I agree we should repair it. Like, but it's going to cost more than replacement. I said, I get it. You're right. We should absolutely repair this
We're totally done here. We're totally done here.
And they really didn't know what to do. So we did not get that done today. But
all right, we'll hear more
situation.
of this after the break. We'll be right back. Give some thanks to our sponsors. All right. We're back live on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then back to you on Spotify, iTunes, and my favorite on YouTube. So like and subscribe us there. Watch every episode. We have a different guest, a different show for you. And it's always a joy, right? I mean, isn't it?
Completely.
Oh, you gotta love the descriptions. So with this, or with today's show, we have Matthew Mink with Trust Public Adjusting Group. We work a lot together, me as a consultant, and you helping folks that are in this time of need. And right before the break, we were talking about like when people do finally call you, and it's like sometimes off the rip, sometimes they're like, well, I'm going to give my insurance company the chance to do the right thing. And that kind of makes sense. I might try to do that myself. I'm like, all right, if I was just first time I ever do that, I can do this. Because I'm one of those guys that can, except for drywall, plumbing, and electrical. Outside of that, I can do anything, right? And I know this by...
I love watching the YouTube videos, too.
Right, exactly.
It's mostly a man and a shovel is what you can kind of handle by yourself.
Right. And even then, but with that, though, most people don't know that whenever they do get a roadblock, what to do in their insurance claim, especially when you get the whole, you didn't get 3 estimates for your roof, you didn't get 3 estimates for this, and then you're battling the not only the time clock but your job, right? Because what are you doing every day? And it's not sourcing contractors, especially after a major event. Get a contractor out to your home after a catastrophe, after a hurricane in that area. Good luck. I mean, I think the screen guys were like backdated for like 2 years after Ian. That and the boat people or whatever, all the boats that washed up on the shore and stuff like that, boat docks and stuff like that. You just good luck, right? And so, how do you curb that? How do you get yourself in line to ensure that you get paid under your policy what you're owed? And that's by calling a public adjuster. Most of the time we talk about this, and Hans talks about this as being an attorney. Like before you come to an attorney, check out using a public adjuster. They'll be able to help put your package together. I mean, the whole thing, right? If you had to move out because your 3 bedrooms and your 2 baths and your kitchen are affected, well, you're going to need to live in a place that's similar to your house now that's under coverage. It's what they call ALE, and that's something that you deal with a lot. Isn't that right, Matt?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a client right now. They had a water loss. The whole bathroom, it kind of ran from the bathroom, the water, into the bedroom, and there's a lot of damage, and they're going to have to move out of their house. The contractor stated, based on how long he thinks that it's going to take to correct everything and to fix everything, they're probably going to be out of their house for a good 2 to 3 weeks. So that is something we can help a homeowner with, is not just the, writing the scope for the water damage and the mitigation, but also the build back, what it's going to cost to repair everything, and then to make sure that anything they had to come out of pocket for, whether it's for the alternative living expenses or even, storing, their personal property.
And how many estimates from public adjusters do they need?
One.
That's it. That's right. And don't let the insurance company adjuster dictate what you do for your claim and tell you to put you to work basically and say, you go get all these estimates, turn them into me, and then pick the lowest bidder. It's like government work.
It's not in the policy. Just so we're all clear with everybody, there's no homeowner's policy out there that says an insured's duty is to get 3 estimates for anything that's broken or damaged or destroyed. It just doesn't exist. So don't let them tell you, I need this. Because otherwise, you're adjusting your own claim. Part of your premium dollar is for the adjustment of the claim by the insurer as a professional. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, Matt, let me ask you this. I thought there was I hate the word statistic, especially when I have these Invisaligns in my mouth. I thought there was a statistic that said that a public adjuster gets like 4 times or 5 times or 6 times.
777% more on average helping out a homeowner than a homeowner would on their own. That's a big number.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's because so many of these claims are underpaid, under deductible, denied, where you have homeowners that walk away or they have little to nothing up front. I just did one. It was from Hurricane Milton over on the west coast of Florida. And they only were indemnified for $4,000 over their like $7,000 deductible. We currently have it up to $152,000.
That's awesome. And that's being negotiated now with the insurance company?
We've already, just from doing a reinspection, we made them come out there. From the reinspection alone, we got them to come from $4,000 to $152,000 just on a reinspection. And now we're in the process, because our estimate was really about $250,000. So now they invoked appraisal. So they did throw that in there, but I mean, that's fine.
That's not such
that's
a bad
fine.
thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Nothing's wrong with appraisal generally.
Right.
Yeah, we're very successful in working through appraisals, especially when it's citizens.
Yeah, and and that's a good point, and definitely when it's citizens.
Yeah,
but that's a good point. If you're a homeowner and you've heard that term from your insurer, appraisal, or you've heard about mediation, don't go alone. That's like going to a gunfight with a knife, and sometimes not even the knife at all. And so you need to gear up and ensure that you are being represented in that case if you do go to appraisal. Matthew, what a great story of being able to be like, because the insured is like, okay, well, I have this. I know it's not, my $7,000 deductible plus $4,000. I know it's not that, but I don't know what the true number is. And right. It is somewhere in between your 250 and the 150, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's what appraisal is about finding that number, getting uninterested parties together to go back and inspect the home, put the damages together, and then basically I almost say like vote on it, but that's what they do. And they agree on that. Hopefully they don't have to bring in an umpire. If two appraisers agree to the award, then that's the award. The insurance company has to pay.
Correct.
If there's an offset, there's no decision made, then they tap in an umpire. And that's supposed to be an uninterested third party. As you know, it's a very small circle in here. I have many stories about that. But how successful are you in when you get into that mode, appraisal and mediation?
Yeah, we've done really well with the appraisals and mediations. I've, personally have done a lot of mediations, and I always put that on the table for the homeowner because it is a free, claim resolution that if we can use it, at the very least, we gain information from it. And if we had to pass that claim on to an attorney like Hans, what comes out of that mediation, maybe you can't use it necessarily
directly,
but that information, maybe we got the claim up to $30,000, but we really needed to get it up to $60,000 or $70,000. But the fact that we maybe got it up in a mediation of $30,000, it's good information.
That is.
You always learn something. I tell my clients, we always learn something in mediation, and usually it's not good. Usually what you learn is not good. I mean, you need to know that. But I said, we always learn something. If we don't learn anything, we still learn that we know everything. I mean, there's no downside to mediation. I've never left mediation other than don't get it done. But I've never left mediation and went, well, that was a waste of time. I knew everything about this claim. Because you don't. You get a better feel for your clients under pressure. You get a feel for where the carrier's coming from. I find in pre-suit mediation, the adjusters are often much more forthcoming with information about the claim. Well, like the letter will say, we found little damage to your roof, let's just say, the desk adjuster. And the guy at mediation will go, 12 on the left slope, 12 here, 14. And obviously you get all this other more detailed information that the desk adjusters normally don't provide. So, but I do find with clients, and we get used to using the terminology, appraisal, mediation, litigation, people think they're all the same. People think all those words mean I got to go to court tomorrow. I mean, that's what all of them are. I said, well, we're going to go to mediation. Oh, I don't want to talk. I don't want to testify. And you forget. I mean, so it's important too, just through the show and everything else, that I try to let people know that appraisal, you don't testify. There's no court in appraisal. And mediation, you don't have to say anything. Litigation, you got to do some work, and that's the hardest of the three. But the appraisal part and the mediation part, you just got to kind of go along for the ride, and it's all going to be fine. And appraisal you don't show up for, mediation you do. But really, when I use those three terms, and we kind of use them somewhat quickly because we're all familiar with them, the clients think they all mean I'm going to court on Friday. Just what they
Right.
Well, when do I have to testify? I'm like, what are you talking about? We're going. Well, you said we're going to mediation. When do I have to testify? And I'm like, you're not going to say anything in mediation. And they're like, oh, I thought I had to testify. I said, no, stop using the word testify.
And a lot of times during the mediation, they'll break us out into separate rooms, so you're not even in the same Zoom room, essentially, as the, insurance adjuster for the insurance company.
Right. Now, if somebody that is listening now just wants to have a full, free review of their home, and they do have hurricane damages, maybe they have an open claim, even if you have not opened a claim by now, even though it's super late, you still have, you better hurry, that's right. You have 1 year to report first notice of claim. But if somebody wanted to give you a call and say, you know what, I think I had some damages, I'm just like, maybe I don't live there full time, or I haven't really got it inspected, I've just been busy, and they wanted a free review from you, is that something that you do? You can review a full policy for them?
Absolutely, yes. If they give me a call, they can reach me at 321-402-6826, and I will come out, I will do a full inspection, and we will look all the places that they didn't think to look. Because hurricane damage doesn't just always affect the roof. It can affect your soffit. It can affect siding. There's a lot of different things, the gutters, and we take a look at everything, and we'll go into the attic as well as, the interior and look for damage.
That's awesome. And you make sure you include it. We've kind of been harping on the 3 estimate rule, but when you come in, you're going to look at claim-specific damages. Right, you're going to be able to include things that are under that particular claim, under that policy of insurance. And I think it's important to know is that you know the distinction between the two. What was maybe pre-existing or what's maybe not covered under that claim, but things that are.
Yeah, we're just looking to get the homeowner everything they are ethically and rightfully entitled to under the policy for that claim.
That's right.
And that's it.
That's right. And like we were saying, Hans, I mean, the percentage is great of somebody doing it on their own versus, somebody doing it with the public adjuster versus on their own. Talking about more than 700 times the amount on average that somebody will get using a public adjuster. And that's because, just like what you said, Matthew, you're not missing anything. And whereas an insurance company provider or agent is going to give you less than likely adjustment for the claim. So we're going to pick that back up and talk about how we can reach you a little bit more here after the break. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back. 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can listen to us live right here in Central Florida, or you have a second shot at it. We're on Spotify, iTunes, and also on YouTube following the show a few days afterwards. So I'd say by Wednesday or Thursday, you'll be able to find us everywhere we stream. And of course, like I said at the beginning, never want to miss a show, especially Hans' Dapper Suit of the Week. There by subscribing us on our YouTube page, Contractor Talk Podcast there. We are sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida. raflorida.org is how you find more information about our nonprofit, how you can become a member if you're a service provider, if you're a public adjuster, if you're an attorney in this industry, you want to network, you want to meet more folks that work in this industry, join us at raflorida.org. And speaking of membership, I've known Sterling for quite a while. He's the owner of Trust Public Adjusting Group, and we've all been involved with going up to Tallahassee and speaking our mind. And so when we were discussing it before the show, we have some overlap there. You've also been into Tallahassee to go in front of these committees and to speak about some of these major law changes, and some of them did affect public adjusters.
Yeah, it was back in 2023, March of 2023. The trade group that I'm with, the FAPIA, which is for Florida Association of Public Insurance Adjusters, they had some, I guess, information that there was going to be some legislation coming down against, public adjusters, and they asked who would be willing to, and I was a group of people that went up to Tallahassee. We got to speak in front of the the House and the Senate subcommittees that were, that it was those bills and stuff were in front of at that particular time. I actually, when we spoke at the House, Jimmy Petronas was there as well. He actually spoke during that session, that committee as well. He was not a fan of us being there, the public adjusters, and I think I think one of the words.
They call you a locust?
Well, he actually said, and I can't remember if it was a locust or whatever, but he said something. But he said, now I'm not specifically talking about the ones that are in this room.
Right.
But
I don't want to get my tires flattened by when I leave here.
He said, I'm sure these are the good ones, and that's the thing. And that's the reason why I wanted to go, is because most of all the public adjusters are good public adjusters. Are there a few bad apples out there? I'm sure there is,
In every industry, there are. But why highlight the 1%, right? And talk about that.
And take away homeowners' rights.
Right, based off of that very small percentage. And I bring this up because, and this is a good kind of segue into a lot of the stuff that they would say up in Tallahassee. They would bring up this far-reaching piece of information, and they would say, oh, yeah, well, all of these claims are filed, and all this litigation out of Florida exists, and all this. And they're just spinning wrong information, putting in front of these legislators, giving a reason why to make these drastic law changes. Well, this is the only way we're going to fix this. They create a problem that they have a solution for already, right? If that makes sense, right? Yeah. If they have the solution already, so now they need to create the problem, and that's what they did. And I saw it in the beginning of what was it? The beginning, it was the beginning of 2023, where they started with the let's give everybody and their mom an increase of more than 15%. And even folks that put in for a smaller increase, different insurance companies got 2, 3, 4 times the amount of increase by the Office of Insurance Regulation. And you scratch your head and you're like, well, why would they do that? Well, that's so they can get the headlines, so they can get people screaming, you just bumped me 50%. Your prices just went up this amount, to cause this fake crisis in order to then finally say, okay, we have the legislation. It's already right here. It's written already. Look at this. Boom. All we have to do is submit it. And it didn't seem like at the point or at that time, it did if you were in Tallahassee, and it made a lot of sense. And I was there in 2022 where they had the special sessions, and it was like they couldn't get the prior House Speaker, Chris Spraws, to be able to say, this is like I'm okay with all of this major change. He put a stop on it, allowed some change to exist, but not take away as much power as the governor did in the second special session, the third special session, and then again on March 24th of 2023, where he took out all of prevailing party attorneys' fees across all lines of insurance, which is not fair. At first, they targeted just property insurance and said, okay, all this fraud exists here, so let's take away prevailing party attorneys' fees. So because, again, the attorneys apparently were taking, you hear the staggering percentages, like attorneys are taking 80% of all or 70-something% of all of the money from homeowners lawsuits, and they're the ones that are winning off of all this. And Hans is going like, who does that?
I'm not sure how
it's not me.
I'm not sure how you get there. Yeah, it's certainly not me. I mean, it really isn't. What's really been amazing with all the discussion about the fees and everything is, again, most guys I know, you got to feed your family, right? We all got to eat. But I'm between typically 20 and 30% of almost everything that we do. Typically more toward the 20 than the 30. We would try to keep it even down to 30 in litigation, 30% plus costs. We try to take no less than 10. I mean, we're not. I've never seen a contract yet that says 75% or we'll take 70% of your money.
That's crazy, and that's what these legislators were hearing, to the tune that they were taking around these handouts with these fake numbers on it, and as they say, if you continue to say a lie over and over and over again, eventually it becomes truth. Eventually people start to believe it, and that's what they were doing, just repetitious of saying, "Hey, this is why premiums are raising," and that wasn't the fact at all. That wasn't the truth at all. And so we come up there, we're offering a second or a separate voice, and thank you for going up there and telling the folks there in the Senate and the House committee that, listen, not only us, but there's a big group out there that do it the right way. And those locusts that showed up after a hurricane were offering cell phones, we're offering power, we're offering water for no charge, for just and going away from our families to be able to go there. And I say our because I was there too. I was help supporting the public adjusters and the folks out there giving away waters.
Most of the people that you see that run towards these, and when I said I went up to, like, for Hurricane Michael on the roofing side of things, spent the first few weeks not even trying to sell a roof. We literally were helping people just put tarps on the roofs, not even charging for it, just getting the free tarps from FEMA and helping people get their roofs tarped, for just so I can hand them a card and say, I'm sorry you're going through this, but hopefully if you need my help in the future, you can give me a call. And that, to me, is what I love about public adjusting, is that we advocate and we can help people. There's no money up front until the homeowner gets paid.
That's awesome. That's awesome. TrustPublicAdjustingGroup.com is how you can find them. Get set up for your free evaluation, free policy review, free inspection of your home and damages if they exist. And it could be anything from a pipe leak. It could be a leaky roof. It could be anything as sudden and accidental that may be covered under your policy. Scratch your head for a second and be like, is this covered under my policy? And instead of filing a claim first, you have a question, you call Matthew, you go to trustpublicadjustinggroup.com, set up for a free review of your policy and an inspection on your home. And then you just sit back in your chair, put your feet up, and you'll do the inspection. You'll set the appointments up with the insurance adjuster. You'll ensure that the claim goes as it should be.
And to make sure, because a lot of people, they ask that question, should I put a claim in? And if you don't have a claim, you shouldn't put one in, and we can help.
Right, that'll hurt you.
Yeah,
right.
we can help. We can help them, figure out, because if there's no claim there, why would I spend all my time trying to, to run it through, them and the insurance company when I'm not going to get paid to do it? I mean, this is a for-profit. I'm here to make money as I advocate for homeowners. So, yeah, we will come out, do a free property inspection, and we can let you know if it is a viable claim.
That's right.
I always tell my clients that we're really partners in the claim. And so now, if I'm going to charge you $5,000 up front to then tell you have no claim, that's a different model, right? But if we're in this together, I'm not going to take a claim forward that I don't believe in or believe has merit, because, as I said, rather, if I'm going to be wrong, I want to be wrong today, not wrong a year from now. So I said we're partners in this. I said, so if we treat each other in that way, usually partners try to typically be nice to each other. You try to be helpful to each other. I said we have a chance of really taking this forward. If one of us if I have to carry the whole load, it may not work out. You got to sometimes I need documents. Sometimes I need you to sign stuff. I need you to take certain actions. But other than that, I said we're partners in this claim together, and we can move it forward together.
That's right. That's right. And it really does take a village. I've said this before. I mean, the service professionals in our association at the Restoration Association of Florida help each other by helping the client get back to pre-loss condition. So many of the tarpers, they'll have folks or friends that are restoration contractors, dry out companies, put back companies, and they help assist the homeowner get back to pre-loss condition. And that's what's great about this industry. It's what's great about this association is that we are about unity within the industry, to putting the homeowner first and ensuring that they are put back to pre-loss condition. And just so many times in so many horror stories that we've seen and heard, but the paper alone lately has been showing and pointing out all of these high declination rates. There's people that we don't know, the people that are silent, the people that will never move forward with their denial and just sit there in silent while they repair and replace their own home, even though they've been paying for insurance for many, many years. And that's the unfortunate part. Most people don't think about filing a claim on their auto insurance when they hit something and the damages are over their deductible. It's like, okay, we'll just file a claim. I'll pay my deductible, boom, boom, bada boom, bada bing, it gets fixed. But then on their home, they're like their biggest asset. I scratch my head. I'm like, what in the world are you thinking? File the claim. If the damages supersede your deductible, that's why you have insurance. File the claim. And to Matthew's point, having him come out and tell you whether or not you have a viable claim or not before you even file it is gold. That's worth its weight in gold by itself. Because just like I said, how a hurricane claim doesn't count against your loss runs when looking for new insurance, a bad claim hurts you very bad when you do search for new insurance. So that's one thing you don't want to have on your record is an illegitimate claim when you're searching for insurance. It's definitely not going to go down, that's for sure.
And so we certainly find when I talk to clients, sometimes even in mediation, you'll ask a client, do you have any prior claims? They're like, I don't think so. Maybe one. And then you get there and the adjuster's like 6 months ago, a year ago, 18 months ago, 24. And you go through this litany of prior claims, all for roof damage. You're just like, yeah, well, this one's not going very far.
Sometimes it's not the contractors. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So you really do. So it is important to know. But again, when Matthew's talking about, we're all talking about here, if you have real damage, then make a real claim. If it's not a real claim, then you should wait. I mean, because that'll help your premiums not go up later, increase your ability to get coverage later. But I'm sure, Matthew, you see people at times who need some help shaping their claim.
Right. And I think one thing that we want to take away from this, if you're one of the tens or hundreds of thousands of folks that were denied from the 2 recent storms last year and you want a free evaluation on that denial letter, Matthew is the one to call. How do we get a hold of you?
Best way to reach me, 321-402-6826. It's my cell number.
All right. And then do you have an email address at Trust Public Adjusting Group?
Yes, it's Matt, M-A-T-T, at TPAGFL.com.
All right. And that stands for Trust Public Adjusting Group or Trust Public
Adjusting Group, Florida.com.
There you go. There you go. All right. One more time on the email address.
Matt at TPAGFL.com.
Toilet paper, Attorney General.
There you
FL.
go. I love it. I love it. And thank you for being on this on the show. It's just so important to have resources, and that's one thing that we do bring to our homeowners around is a great resource, a great company, and Trust Public Adjusting Group. Matthew, thank you for joining us today. Hans, as always, thank you for being here.
Always good to see everybody.
Until next week, see you guys.
Thank you.